Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Ty Davis. Presenting the Motorcycle Hall of Fame ring tonight to Ty Davis is a pioneer of off-road and desert racing, Hall of Famer Dave Eakins.
Ty Davis, in recognition of your numerous AMA motocross and off-road championships, your 4 Baja 1000 championships, and your achievements as an entrepreneur, it is my humble honor to induct you into the AMA Motorcycle Hall of Fame. Congratulations. Thank you. And you can take the mic there.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. You know, a few weeks ago, I was out riding my mountain bike, and I was reflecting about being honored by the AMA and inducted into the Hall of Fame. And I was realizing that I needed to prepare an acceptance speech. And my mind was, came with memories of my first bike, throwing my leg over my first bike and my first race, and my dreams of winning, and all the endless hours of training, hard work, and all those personal sacrifices. Realizing, I was laughing at myself, realizing at the age of 7, if I would have known that all those dreams would have resulted in me having to stand up and speak in front of all you tonight, I think I would have changed my dreams. I feel I'm a pretty lucky guy. I have experienced a lot. I have seen a lot. I have been with and met some of the biggest names in our industry. To me, I feel that's a huge rarity. When I was a kid, I watched these guys on TV, and they seemed like, miles and miles away. Never did it cross my mind that someday I would race with these guys, and I would meet them, and I would experience, friendships with them. It's crazy now that I look back at my career and see the people that I've met. In motocross, guys like Brock Glover, Jeff Ward, Ron Lachine, Rex Staten, Damon Bradshaw, Jeff Stanton, Jeff Amick, Johnny O'Mara, Eric Kehoe, Jeremy McGrath. And then to get to experience the off-road legends, Larry Rosler, Dan Smith, Scott Harden, Bruce Ogilvie, Danny Hamill, Dick Burleson, Rodney Smith, Scott Summers, Randy Hawkins, Jeff Fredette, Terry Cunningham. And that's just to name a few. There's so many more people. And then you go to the International 6 Days Enduro and race with the elite in the world. I've also had the opportunity to help other riders earn championships. For instance, the late Nathan Woods, two-time works champion. That makes you feel really good when you can give back and see someone achieve their dreams. To think that someday, to think at the age of 7 that this is what lied ahead, it's crazy. I have a few stories I'd like to share with you guys tonight. The first one is Rocket Rex Staten. Now, I don't know if, I'm sure you guys, I know Brock Glover probably remembers him, but if you go to introduce yourself with him, you better have some boxing gloves in your back pocket. We went to a Golden State race, and it was after practice. He comes off the course, and there's tons of people, and he's like just, being a jerk. He's just wide open, hitting people, and my dad reaches over and says, "Hey, man, slow down a little bit." And he throws his bike down, grabs my dad, and says, "Don't you ever tell me to slow down." And he's got him up here, and he throws him down, and he goes back over and gets on his bike and goes back to the pits. And my dad comes back, and he's like, "Dude, that guy's freaking out there, I don't know. He needs to get thrown out of the park." And I'm like, geez, really? Is that bad? And so at the time, I'm hoping, I hope he doesn't know that was my dad and keep them separate, knowing that I had to race with him. So we had different qualifiers, and he was not in my qualifier, thank God. And we come to the main event, and I'm like, okay, no eye contact. I hope he doesn't see me in anything. And so we go up to the start line, and they're drawing our numbers and stuff, and I go up, and I'm kind of like trying to not, I'm trying to find a gate pick, but not, notice Rex. I look up, here's Rex with his beady eyes looking straight at me. Like, oh boy, So we go, I find my spot, and then I go, the race is coming up, and I go out behind the gate to clean my bike out. And I get to the end there, and you know how you feel like this wind coming up on you before you get hit? And I come down, I'm just, cleaning my bike out, and all of a sudden, I look over, and here's Rex comes brake sliding into me. And I look over, and I'm like, oh boy, we're going to get in a fight here or what, That happened, with my dad earlier, truce. And he turns around, and he just drops the clutch and roosts me. And what a jerk. That's a nice way of putting it. I said, you sucker, race is on. And so we go to the start line, and I'm fired up, tell my mechanic what happened. And, of course, I'm on the inside. We take off. I get a great start. Coming in the first turn, I got Jeff Matasevich on the left of me. I got a guy in a Honda, and almighty Rex is the next guy over. And they got Russ Wageman on the outside of him. Well, back then, Glenn Helen had these humongous tires, and if you hit him, you were done. And I come in there, and I set up for the corner, and I see him out there, and I'm like, oh, well, I'm in control of the race right now. And I just keep pushing myself to the outside. Just enough where he couldn't make the corner. Made the corner, and Rex goes flying across. Well, Rex's fashion was, well, I ain't going to get back on where I left the track. I'm just going to cut the track. So he jumps on behind me. And so after the race, he never caught up, thankfully. We didn't have no contact. And after the race, the promoter goes up to Rex and says, we're going to DQ you for cutting the course. And I thought that was the best thing because, I caused that whole DNF. And I thought, what, that's what you get, you sucker, I also had, it was kind of funny because that's kind of how Rex and I met. And then we became pretty good buds. I mean, of course, I had no money, and he was, he started taking me to races and stuff. And then I started riding, ATK, and next thing you know, we're doing the Baja 1000. And it was the afternoon, and, coming from Valle de Trinidad over the beach, and we're cruising on this road, and the sun's in our eyes, late afternoon. We're tired. We've been riding all day. And I'm riding, and Rex is about 4 bike lanes behind me. And all of a sudden, I see this brown thing out of the left of my eyes. And I look over, and it's this damn horse. This horse is going right at me. And I'm like, crap, what am I going to do? He's going to take me out. It's like I'm grabbing the brakes, and I'm trying to slow down. And this horse comes over. And next thing you know, he's up against me, and my elbow's on its withers. And all I could picture was the horse just cutting right from my front wheel and taking me down. And I could feel his hump muscles, his rump muscle just moving, and the claws, not the claws, the hooves hitting my swing arm, and I'm like, this is it. This is not going to be good. And I'm like, what do I do? What do I do? And then all of a sudden we got to a certain speed, and the horse took off and went over to the side and jumped back over the fence. And I'm like, are you kidding me? I was like, I stopped. I'm like, Rex, did you see that? What the heck, But only in Mexico, Stories like that is, only in Mexico. Another rider that I've looked up to, I've looked up to a lot of riders. I looked up to Bob Hanna. I always like the way Bob Hanna always says the truth. I love that. I think that's great. No BS. This is the way it is, and you know where he's at. Another guy I really look up to is Larry Rosler. It's funny that Larry. It's just weird how my whole career and Larry's been involved in it. We came home from a desert race one time, and Larry was going to have dinner with us, and my dad invited him. And my dad's no slouch either. He's raced desert for years. He had every number in the top 10 except number 1. And now I look back at it, I think he saved it for me. He raced 6 days. He was on the factory Yamaha team, and was on the trophy team. And how ironic, 15 years later, I'm on the factory Yamaha team going to 6 days. I think that's pretty cool when your dad's done it, and then you've been able to do the same thing. I look back at my kid now. He's 4 years old. Will he be going to 6 days? You never know. We'll see what happens. I've always looked up to Larry's racing accomplishments. I was honored, when I went to Kawasaki, and they said, Ty, we want you to be the next Larry Rosler. And I was like, wow, that's, here's a guy I looked up to. And he came over he was like the first guy to come to my house. He was the first guy to give me an autograph poster, And then here I am I'm supposed to replace Larry Rosler, The first year I had at Kawasaki, it was the worst year of my life. I come off the motocross side, I'm this big badass. Freaking, off-road guys. What are they? Then you go back east, oh, wow, these guys are nothing. They can't jump. They can't do this. They can't do that. Man, my first GNCC, oh, my gosh, I get a reality check. It just, and then I go on and I'm sitting there and I'm dead. I'm dehydrated. I didn't prepare. I'm sitting there by the trunk of the rental car, throwing up, drooling out of my mouth, and LR's over there having a beer, laughing, and I'm like, dude, I'm supposed to kick this guy's butt, and I'm going to die right now. And then they thought it was pretty funny. They'd take me to the Alligator Enduro, and it got even worse. That year they had rain, and I never even saw dry dirt. And I'm like, riding back here really sucks. And at the end of the year, I almost quit. I was like, I can't do this. I'm not good enough. But I gave it another chance, and I went back and said, all right, I'm going 100%. I can accomplish this. And, the next year went a lot better. Needless to say, LR was a big part of it, and we did a lot of riding together. He showed me the ins and outs of off-road racing. And when I got my confidence back, it was LR, and we're on, and we had a lot of great battles. I like the, LR, I like the competitiveness that we always had with each other, whether it was mountain biking, trail riding, racing. LR was pretty much a sneaky guy. We'd be pre-running, and he'd always be the guy that would start, oh, no, go ahead, Ty, go ahead. I'll just catch up the rear. Oh, okay. After a while, I'm like, why does he always want to be last? So then I would go down the course, and I peeled up in the woods, and I was hiding, and I watch him come by, and then I'd jump back in behind him, and I would, follow him, and oh, really? I didn't know we had this little shortcut. Oh, this is pretty good. And then it was funny when I caught up to him, when he would stop, and then, of course, I was behind him, and he's like, what are you doing? I didn't even see you. And it was it was pretty funny. But that's the way LR was. He was a real sneaky guy. And I have to tell you one more story. My first Baja 1000, I got Danny Hamill, I got Larry Rosler, legends that, and I'm this young guy. I have to, I got to put up. I can't screw up. And we got accused of cheating that year. And how could look at that thing. How could you think we have to cheat to win? That thing's a pretty cool bike. My section was Borrego down to Matomi Wash and down up Portecitos to San Felipe. It was a pretty long section. We had to do that section twice. First time, no problem. The second time, it was kind of questionable whether or not we were going to have trophy trucks. Well, of course, trophy trucks came, and I had to pass trophy trucks. And I'm down there, and I get on. Danny Hamill brings me the bike, throw my leg over the trophy truck right behind me. I haul ass. I go and I catch up to the next trophy truck. Well, I can't get around this thing. I mean, if you try to follow a trophy truck, it's blinding dust. Next thing, the trophy truck behind me is catching me. Well, you know how they pass. They just nerf each other. Well, I'm stuck in the middle of this, and I'm like, man, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? And I finally, I pull a ballsy move, and I get around him. I haul ass down to Matomi Wash, and I got one more trophy truck to pass, and the guy won't let me by, and I thought I could catch him in the wash because it wasn't as dusty. And so I'm chasing him. I chased him about 2 miles, and I knew there was a section coming up where he had to slow down. So I make my pass right there. And as I go by, of course, remember, I'm a lot younger, so I'm full of pints of vinegar. I get by the guy, and I'm like, I'm going to give you a mouthful here. And I clutch the bike. And it's like, ring! I go, oh, stupid tire. Get it in gear next time, and I stick it in gear. Ring! I'm like, dude, this guy's like on my ass now. And I pull over, and I look down, and there's no stinking chain. Like, how could this happen? And I'm like, dude, in the helicopter, Mark Johnson's in the helicopter flying around, and I pull over, and I'm like, oh crap, why me? Why me? I'm the new guy on the team. Why couldn't it have been LR or Danny Hamill, somebody that has some experience? And I'm over there, and I'm like, what do? I get my fanny pack out, and these Mexicans come out of the, they were watching, they come over, and I'm, they're like, oh, can we help you? Can you help me? And I'm getting my chain, and I can give me a rock. I'm trying to beat the Master Link. I had a Master Link, but being a young guy, I forgot to put the chain breaker in the fanny pack. So I'm sitting there going, man, Mark Johnson lands the helicopter. He's looking over the cliff. What's going on? And I'm like, oh, the chain broke, and I'm trying to get this thing fixed. And of course, we had the lead then, and I got all this pressure, and so these guys come up, on Kawasaki's. They see the helicopter flying around, or what the heck's going on up there? They come up, and they're like, hey, Ty, can we help you? I got this KDX 200, you can use the chain off of it. And I'm like, yeah, right. I got this KX 500. They ain't going to fit this gearing. That's 1642. And I'm like, but, after pounding on this, chain, I'm like, hey, you know what? That chain might work. Let's get it off. So he pulls it off and brings it over. I give this chain to the Mexican guy. I go over, I grab the chain, I stick it on. It fits perfect. I was like, put the master link in, and I'm like, holy crap. I didn't have to adjust it. Throw my goggles on, I take off. It was unbelievable. And the poor guy, Skip, he had to stay out there for 2.5 days. They couldn't figure out how to get that. They couldn't break the chain, and there was no help, and I felt so sorry. We were all going for the awards thing, and he comes walking in with his gear, and I was like, oh, man, I feel so sorry. But you know what? That guy saved the race. And everyone swore that Mark Johnson threw the chain out the helicopter, And it's like, no, that's not what happened. So that was a good experience. I didn't let the team down, thankfully. So that was my Baja experience, my first time. Malcolm Smith, Malcolm Smith, he's a great guy. I feel we should all look up to him. First, he's a very humbled individual. He's a great rider, supporter. He had Malcolm Smith Racing Products. I rode for him twice. And what I was really surprised with Malcolm, which what I really respect is, I showed up at this BLM meeting one time, and they were talking about land closures up by my house, and they wanted all of us to get together. So I show up, and, I've never been to one of these meetings. And I look over, and there's Malcolm Smith in the front row taking notes. And I'm like, Malcolm doesn't have to do this. He's older, he's retired. Why, It just blew me away that he's there fighting for our rights, to ride. And we need more people like that, All these land closures going around in California, we need guys like that. And I always respected him of that. And he's definitely a man that is giving back to our sport. And I kind of laugh. Every racer has an attitude. Rex Staten, obviously, he was a fighter. Bob Hanna, he'll just tell you what it is. He'll, cuss you out, whatever. Larry Rosler is Mr., sneaky. And Malcolm Smith, if he was racing, back in the day, I think he would just kill everybody with kindness. That's Malcolm. Again, I would like to thank the AMA and the voting staff for honoring me as a Hall of Famer. And I want to thank my friends and all my family for being here tonight. Thank you very much.